Hello and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel. My guest today is someone that we've been trying this for 3 years now. My guest is a content creator, pretty much literally saves life every day in a day job. Chelsea Rose, thanks for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited that we can
Yeah.
finally put this
Yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah. So we talked and then we could, and then I just thought when you were just about to move out of the city
Mhm.
to go and like become certified in what was it like what was the I guess the course you went off to do called?
So actually, I had just finished the course and I'd gotten hired as a paramedic.
Oh
But
yeah
when
yeah
you
yeah.
get hired, sometimes you end up being posted to different areas. So I ended up my first year of work, I worked in the South Shore of Nova Scotia, but it was a little too far away for me to drive every day, so I moved to Liverpool.
Oh man. So I guess let me rewind then. Like, is that something you always wanted to do? Become a paramedic? Like who? Like
No,
who
so
wants to be?
actually, when I was in high school, I had like a million different ideas of what I wanted to do, and it always changed. I thought maybe I'll be a lawyer, maybe I'll be an English teacher, and then I actually really wanted to go to art school, but my parents were like, art's not a career. And then everyone in my high school was going to university. A lot of people in my high school ended up going to university, and so my parents owned a business, and I thought I'll just go get a business degree and maybe I can do something with that. And then I had played around, like it kind of came into my head when I was in high school, like firefighter or nurse. But for nursing, I didn't have all the science credits that you would need to go into a nursing degree.
Okay.
So I just kind of powered through the business program. And then halfway through, when I did an internship, I was like, wow, I actually hate this. I would never want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm just like sitting in an
What did you hate
office.
about it?
I was like sitting in an office, like typing emails all day, and like every once in a while I got to go because my major was in marketing, and every once in a while I got to go do some events or whatever. But I was like, nothing I'm doing is helping anybody. Like what I'm doing here is not benefiting anybody except for the company I'm working for. I was working for a it's kind of like a property company that has a lot of apartment buildings around Halifax and stuff. So I'm just like trying to market basically like, hey, come live in our apartment buildings. And I was like, this isn't really doing anything for anyone. I don't feel good about it. And then a girl I went to high school with, a year younger than me, she was posting on Facebook about going to paramedic school. And I was like, I just randomly, as soon as I saw it, I like shot her a message and I said, hey, like, how's paramedic school? Like, what is that like? And she was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, like the program's amazing. I'm loving every minute of it. It's so awesome. And I was like, wow, like, when I was younger, I always thought about, firefighting or something or doing something along that line. And it seems really cool. But I was like, no, 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 no. You got 2 years left. Like, go back, finish your degree. And then if you don't
Yeah.
like it, we'll switch it up afterwards. And so I went back to
Mm,
school in the fall semester, and every class I was sitting through, I was like, man, I hate this. What am I doing here? I'm just wasting
mm,
my time. I'm just wasting money. Like, this is not something I want to do. And I also found out, like, with university is just such a money grab. Like,
in what way?
to me, I mean, unless like certain programs, it's not. Certain programs, it's definitely necessary. But like, I found out afterwards because I grew up in a really small town, that there's so many other options out there. Like in Nova Scotia, we have NSCC, which is the community college, and people always kind of stigmatize or look down on community college. It's like not as good as university. That's so not true. Every friend, I've even have family members who've gone to NSCC, and it's way more hands-on. The class sizes are smaller. Everything is applied versus university, you're just sitting in a lecture of 200 other people and you're literally gonna forget this class as soon as the semester's done. Like, the only classes I remember from university are my electives, the classes that I picked for fun. And I was like, wow,
Mm.
this is so interesting. I love taking philosophy, or I took astronomy. I took, what was another one I took? I took a Bible, like one that looks at the Bible academically, a religious studies course. And I found all of those,
Oh.
like, I know more about those courses than literally 75% of my degree, which was done in business. So that semester I went back and I was having like panic attacks, being like, this is like, what am I doing here? And on a whim, one late night in my dorm room, I applied for paramedic school, forgot that I'd even done that. And then a few weeks later, in the middle of December exams, I got an email saying, your application's been accepted. We need you to come in and do the interview and the aptitude test. And I was like, all right, let's roll with it. Like, why not? And so I did. I just kind of went by the seat of my pants and got in. And then I ended up going the following September. I took the summer off to just kind of, because the program's very extensive. You don't really get any free time. So I took the summer off. And then in September, I went to paramedic school. It's a 10-month program at the school here in Nova Scotia that does it. And then when I finished up, it's the hiring process is a little bit long. You have to first go get a license. You have to write a licensing exam. Then you have to get hired. So I ended up going back for my business degree part-time, and I graduated last year with my business degree. So now I have a diploma in paramedicine and a business degree from St. Mary's.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, so I gotta ask, what was the process of actually getting into paramedic school, and
so the
what
one
things
here,
were you
like,
doing there?
I don't know if it's changed since I went, and I also don't know what other provinces and other schools application process is like. But when I did it, I think you had to submit a bunch of documents online, your resume, criminal record check, all that kind of stuff, a cover letter. Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, okay. A cover letter, and then you have to, once they accept your like kind of package, your paper application, then they will get you to come in and do an interview, an aptitude test. And the aptitude test is just like a very generalized aptitude test, which has math, English, science, spatial abilities, that sort of thing on it.
Wait. What special abilities?
So that's when they like kind of give you like, when you were a kid and you used to make those cutouts and then you'd glue them together, and it would turn out to make like a box, like on a flat piece of paper, you would like cut out these squares and then you'd kind of fold it and put it together and make a box. Well, it would be kind of like that, where it would have these geometrical shapes, and it would just ask you like, okay, if we were to fold this up, like what shape would it make? It's just like spatial awareness of like how things fit together.
I think I would do really bad in that one.
That one's actually probably the one I do the best on, but I think like the military does a similar aptitude test with just kind of overall. They just want to see like what your baseline of knowledge is, because going into paramedic school, some people are coming straight out of high school, and some people are like adults who haven't been learning in a really long time, so they want to see what your like level is at, like what you know, what you don't know. So I did the interview, I did the aptitude test, and then you have to pass a fitness test. You have to be up to date on all of your shots.
What does a fitness test involve?
So the fitness test, from what I know, has changed since I did it, but when I did it, it's timed. It has to be completed in 9 minutes. You started out, it basically simulates equipment that you would carry. You do it at a physio, I think. It was like a physio clinic I had to go do it at. And you start off, the first round is you pick up 2 25-pound dumbbells. You have to walk out to a pylon, walk back, put them down, pick them back up, walk to this dummy, which has a metronome going, and then you have to perform CPR for 2 minutes on the dummy, then pick the 25-pound dumbbells up, go back to the pylon, back to the beginning, set them down. Then you pick 50s up. You have to go out to the pylon, come back, go over some stairs. You have to pull a bar with 80 pounds of weight you have to hold it for 30 seconds. And then you have to push the bar, again, hold it for 30 seconds, go back. Then the next time you have to take a wheelchair with a 200-pound dummy, take it out, bring it back, and then on the way back you have to use a partner and lift it over some stairs. Like this simulates taking a person out of their home via it's called a stair chair. It's what we use to extricate people from their homes if they're not like on level ground. And then The final one, you pick up a 100-pound bar and walk out to the pylon back, and then walk backwards to the pylon and back, and you have to do this in 9 minutes, or else you fail it. Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
I mean, so you don't get any chance to break or anything now?
No, 9 minutes straight. You do the whole test like consecutively. Yeah.
Like, just listening to you read that, my heart is pounding. I'm like,
It took me a couple tries because, like, I'm a generally fit person, but I'm not the like, go to the gym, work out all the time. Like, back then, actually, I was more so than I am now because I kind of get a bit of a workout from work, and obviously gyms are closed right now. But back then, I was a bit more fit, but I'd say maybe my like stamina and endurance wasn't as good. So I think I did it once and I was over the 9 minutes, and then I did it once again. And if you falter or you drop any of the weights, you're technically like disqualified. And so one time,
what?
yeah. If you don't set, like, you can set the weights down if you need like a quick breather, but if you lose control and drop them, then yeah, you're out. So one time, like I said, you have to have a partner to help you lift that dummy on the wheelchair. And the other girl was smaller than me, and I'm 5'3" and like 140 pounds. She was like 5'1" and maybe like 100 pounds soaking wet. So she was my partner, and she ended up losing her grip, and like the wheelchair set down a little bit like harshly or something, and so like I got disqualified for that, which that one like annoys me still to this day.
Yeah, like, how is it your fault though?
Especially because the test is $70 every time you go to do it, so I had to do it a couple times. But yeah, so eventually I got it done.
Like, do you get to know what you're supposed to do before you before you go to do the physical test?
It does tell you what to do. So after I went, like, because I think like the first time I was kind of a little naive. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm fit, whatever. And then I went to do it, and I was like, okay, never mind. Like, we need to go back to the gym and practice. So I went back to the gym and would practice with those weights that they were using.
What would you say is the distance from like the beginning place to the pylon and all that stuff?
I can't remember what exactly the distance was. I'd say maybe it was like 30, 40 feet.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was like you started in one room, and then you had to go out because it wasn't a giant room, but you had to go out into the hallway and then like kind of come back. So I would say maybe 20, 30 feet, anywhere from 20 to 40 feet.
I mean, I can understand, you're carrying heavy stuff, but like, what is the walking backward part for?
What is so that simulates, so basically all of this is simulating like on an ambulance. We have to pick up our defib, our kits, and like the actual patient. And then the walking backwards is supposed to simulate when you're holding the stretcher. Because one person is on one side of the stretcher and one person's on the other, and most of the time you want to face each other. So one person does kind of hold with two hands and walk backwards. So yeah.
Oh yeah, because when I was like, why don't you just stand the back and then look at where you're going? Why do you have to look at each other then? Like,
well, it's not. It's just that they not look at each other. You just want to have two hands on the stretcher. So yeah, you can. Obviously, you're not just walking backwards without looking back. You can like look back to make sure you're not going to like run into anything. But they want you to have two hands on the stretcher at all times, because you never know, like, people's driveways, they could have a pothole or something like that, and so you want to always have two hands on the stretcher to have control of the stretcher.
Here's my trick for that though. Is it allowed for you to turn around and then kind of hold it, like, with your back to the other person or your back to the stretcher?
You can, but like they would prefer like the proper way to do it is to look, like to hold it, and because you have more control again if you're facing the stretcher, if something were to tip, versus if you have your arms behind it. If they tip, like, it can be catastrophic, and the stretcher is very high up, so if you have a patient on the stretcher and it tips, it's not going to be good. So,
yeah, you don't want that on your
like this person probably is coming out with like a broken leg, or like they're having a heart attack, and then all of a sudden you drop them on the stretcher. Like, that would be terrible.
Okay, so you do this fitness test, right? And then you pass, and that's it. Then you're in.
Well, yeah, so once you do the interview, if you pass the interview, you do the fitness, you do the all that stuff, you pass, and then you have to like make sure your shots are up to date, get the criminal record check like I said,
What shots? Because,
like
like,
vaccines and stuff. So
oh, right, right,
make
right. Because
sure
there
that
was no COVID then. Wait, so that means you guys have your thing now, right? Like, you have
some
your.
some paramedics do, some don't. It's kind of like the whole process, I think, has been a learning curve, especially for like the Nova Scotia government and stuff. And like we're not, EHS is not a part of the Nova Scotia Health Authority. We're a separate entity. So they were making sure that the hospital staff, like ER nurses, ICU nurses, people directly dealing with COVID patients, and like the nursing homes, which got hit hard that first time, that first wave, they were making sure they were all done. And so then, from what I understand, again, like I don't know all the back end stuff, like our company was in talks with the Nova Scotia government and the health authority who were in charge of the vaccines. And then when they got all the logistics sorted, they offered it to us. But there's like 1,300 paramedics in Nova Scotia. It's a lot of people to try to organize a vaccine for. So, but luckily, yes, I have mine. And majority of us, I think, now have ours. There's a few people who are still getting theirs now. But like I said, 1,300 people is a lot of people to try to organize a vaccine
Right. So
for.
EHS is just it's like its own entity. I don't know what. I thought it was a government owned thing.
No, so EHS is owned by Medavie Blue Cross, which is the insurance company that provides like medical
Oh,
insurance.
those guys.
Yeah, so they own
Yeah,
it.
you
So
pay them.
from what I understand, when paramedicine first became like a thing, because it's still a new profession. Like it only has been a thing for the last like 30, 40 years. And so like there's been a lot of kinks worked out and all that sort of stuff. So back when it first became a thing, the government decided to basically contract it out to Medavie, and so they provide Medavie with a certain amount of money each year, but like basically they don't do all the admin and the logistics, and they're not really responsible for it as much as, from what I understand. Again, like I don't know all the ins and outs of the company, but no, we're not. We're not government employees or anything like
All
that.
right, cool. So you get in, you do the thing, you get in. What's a typical day in paramedic school like?
So you do classroom for 6 months. In the initial early days, so we did Monday to Friday. I think it was like 8 to 4. And a lot of it in the beginning was like a lot of just information, PowerPoint slides, blah, 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 talking about the history of paramedicine and stuff like that. And then like when you get on a scene, like how to assess a scene, making sure you're safe, making sure you're wearing all the equipment, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually we get into the specific modules. I think there was like 12 modules. And then there's like cardiology, respiratory, endocrinology, the GI system. So you go through each of the systems and you learn about like the biological and like chemical parts of like how, and the anatomy of the body and how things work. And then you get into like, okay, when things go wrong, like what do we do? And then slowly in the beginning, like I said, it's all classroom, but then slowly they start integrating skills. So like, okay, like how do you use like airway management equipment, and then like how do you do an IV, and how do you properly assess somebody. And so we go from like all classroom to like classroom mixed with skills, and then we go from that to doing scenarios. So they would say like, okay, we're going to act as if this is like a scenario. You walk in, what do you do? And you have to talk everything out. So you say like, okay, I walk in, I look at the patient, what does the patient look like? And then they like explain the patient to you, and then you start questioning. You'll be like, hi, like what are we like what's going on today? And they'll be like, oh, I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm like, okay, like when did that start? Blah blah blah. What kind of medication are they on? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to check their vitals. All right, their oxygen's low. I'm going to give them some oxygen. And so you go from like classroom to like classroom and skills to like classroom skills and scenarios. And then near the end of the 6 months, it's pretty much skills and scenarios. And then it's just all scenarios, like just constantly drilling in like, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you do, after you finish all that and you finish your final exams in classroom, you do a month in hospital so you can kind of understand the hospital system. You do a shift.
What do you do in the hospital?
So you do a shift, you do one shift at a nursing home to just kind of get the idea of how the nursing homes work and what they do there. Then you do one shift in like in a surgery unit, so you get to watch some surgeries being done. Nothing crazy. All I got to see when I did my surgery day was shoulder scopes. So that's when they kind of like cut part of your arm and they slide a little camera in and they see like maybe why your shoulder hasn't been working well, and I literally got to see on the camera all this like frayed muscle tissue. And so that frayed muscle tissue is probably what's causing pain and stuff. So they would go in and they would like cut the frayed tissue off. That way that's no longer just like hanging about in their like synovial fluid. That's a lot of medical jargon.
Right.
And then after the surgery day, you do a day in ICU, see what that's like, because we do take a lot of patients to and from ICU units. And then you do 3 full rotations in the ER, because obviously we are like, that's the most important. We deal with
What's
the
a full
ER.
rotation?
So that would be 4 days on, 4 days off, 2 days and 2 night shifts. So you do 2 days, 2 night shifts, and then have 4. So you follow a nurse while you're there.
What time is the night shift?
It depends by hospital. I did mine at Truro Hospital, and I think that the shifts were 7 to 7 there. So I did 7 to 7 2 days, and then 7 to 7 2 nights. And then, like I said, I was following that nurse's rotation. So then we do 4 off, and then we come back for 4 and do 4 off. And so you do 3 full rotations of that.
You know what? You've been like, because, you know, when we met you in Halifax, then you had to go to this place and that place, and now you did something in Truro. Do they, like, have a place for you guys to stay, or you have to take care of all that yourself?
Yeah, because technically, like, you signed up for this program. Like, so when you're in school, you can put in options of where you would like to go. So like my first pick at the time was Halifax for doing my ride time on the trucks and doing my hospital time. And then my second pick, I believe, was like Valley. My second and third pick, I think I put as Valley and Truro, because in the Valley, I have family, and in Truro, my brother actually lives in Truro, so I stayed with my brother while I was in Truro. So you put in options, and they do take into account that, but where the school, like I said, is separate from the Nova Scotia Health Authority, they're trying to kind of like work that out. They also have to find nurses and paramedics who are willing to let you tag along with them, because like again, like, and as a student, anything I did was technically their responsibility, because I don't have a medical license yet, but they do. So if I did something and I did it wrong under their guidance, like that falls back onto them. So it's definitely something that they have to like think of. From what I understand, they do get points towards re-registration, because we have to re-register our license every year. So by taking a student, you get like points towards your re-registration and stuff.
How many points do you need to re-register?
To re-register every year, I don't know what the nurses are, because theirs is totally separate, but as a paramedic, every year we need 80 points to re-register our license. So you have to continually do education to make sure you're not like, you know, that you're up to date on all the newest stuff, that you're not just kind of like sitting around, like, because medicine changes all the time. So
all right. So, you know, just something came to mind, right? One of the scenarios or actually the one you described, the patient is awake, awake. They know what is happening. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a scenario while you're still in school where you go in there and the person is unconscious and you have to do stuff?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
God damn it. Like, anyway, so you finish this, you do Truro, then what?
Yeah, so you do the hospital time for 1 month, and then for the next 3 to 4 months, sometimes it takes people a little longer to get like what we call sign-offs. You have like a list of all these things that you want to make sure that you're able to do. So sometimes it can take people a little longer to get some of them, because it's just random, right? You never know what kind of call you're going to get. So we do like 3 to 4 months of on the job, like following a paramedic on the trucks. And then you follow their rotation as well, which is usually the 4 on, 4 off, 2 days, 2 nights.
And it's just going to be the 2 of you?
No. There's the two paramedics who normally work that truck, and then you. So there's technically three of you on one truck.
So in every truck, is there always three people or is always two?
There's always two. Sometimes there's three if there's a student or if there's somebody returning to work, like they've been off for a short-term disability or maternity leave or something. That's usually the only time there's three.
Oh, okay. Anyway, at what point do you start driving?
As a student, you're not allowed to drive because
like, don't you do that? I mean, I asked the wrong question. Like, at what point in your training do you actually start doing driving training? Is that part
so
of the
when
training?
we were back in school, like as students in the classroom and stuff, they had instructors come and bring an ambulance, and they teach you how to drive. They do a full day of like driver's training and stuff like that, and then when you're out on the trucks, you're not technically allowed to drive the trucks because you don't have like the insurance from the company to drive the trucks. And also if all of a sudden you get like a code 1 call, like the legit like licensed paramedics have to be driving to a code 1 call. You can't have a student driving to it. So usually as a student, you don't do any driving, except for when you're in the classroom.
At what point do you start driving?
Like when you get hired.
All right. Okay. So you do all this stuff, and then I mean, there's just so many things to know.
Yeah, there's
but
lots.
You finish school.
Yeah.
What is the hiring process like? Do you like? Is it guaranteed you get a job right out of school?
No, it's not guaranteed. You have to first go get your license. So you have to do a licensing exam, just like a doctor or a nurse. Anybody medical has to get a licensing, a license. So I had to do this big test, this big exam that had like 200, I think it was somewhere between 200 and 250 questions. And then when you pass that, you technically have a license. And then once you have your license, you can apply to be hired. So the hiring process, again, you have to have all the paperwork in order. You have to have the proof that you have all those shots, your criminal record check, your fitness test paper saying that you passed that fitness test.
Oh and
then you do an interview as well. And then you do what's called OSCEs. So those are like those scenarios that we were doing in class. You do a bunch of those, but this time, like, you don't have like a teacher there to like help you out. Like they're treating this as if like this is a legit call. Like, what do you do? And then they kind of like, check off if you did everything right and stuff. And so you have to pass those. And I feel like there's like a third thing. Oh yeah, you have to do a driving test to make sure like you go into an ambulance and they have pylons everywhere, and it's just like when you were in school, what you did in school, and you have to drive through the pylons and be able to back up and stuff. And so those are the three things that you have to pass in order to get hired. And so when you pass those things, then you get hired.
How nimble is that truck though? Like, how easy is it to drive?
When I first started driving it, it was definitely nerve-wracking because I've only ever driven like a car, which is a lot lower to the ground and a lot smaller, and my parents' SUV, which is still smaller. So it was difficult at first to learn how to drive, but like I actually went and rented a U-Haul truck, which is similar size, and practiced in like an old Walmart parking lot or something on a day that they were closed, or not closed, not Walmart. I think it was somewhere over in like Dartmouth Crossing. It was like a building that wasn't being used or something, and I practiced driving it there to get more comfortable with it.
What other things would you do in the test for the driving test?
For the driving test, you have to like, because it's emulating, like say that there's a call that's come in for like a house fire. And usually, like, fire is very quick to respond to stuff like that. So it's emulating, like, you're going down, like, a street, and there's, like, 3 fire trucks parked, right? And you have to weave through the fire. So there's pylons, and you have to kind of weave through a couple of tight corners. And then you have to be able to, like, go through... you have to snake through some pylons, and then you have to snake backwards through the pylons, and then you have to be able.
I couldn't do that with a car. I couldn't do that with a car backwards. Like, I hate reversing.
Yeah.
Wait, does it have like those cameras, like the backup cameras in it?
I can't remember. I think at the time when I did my test, we used an older truck that I don't remember. I can't. They wanted you to use your mirrors, so we used the mirrors on the side. So and then you had to back up like from the driver's point of view, as if like you're backing up into a base, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do like a left-sided like backup, and then you have to do like a right-sided backup into a small spot, as if you're backing up into an ambulance base, and then like that's it.
But like the truck you are in now has the backup camera, though.
Yes, the ones that we have now do have the
Yeah,
backup
'cause we want to
cameras.
see where
I
you're
feel
going.
like they did then too, but I can't really remember.
But for the test, they just say you have to
Yeah,
use
they
your
want
mirrors.
you to be able to
Damn
rely
it.
on the mirrors.
And then
because-
you go back. I don't think I could do that even with a
yeah,
thing.
and
Like,
because
I
the thing
hate
is
parking.
too, in the winter time, right? Like most of the time, our backup cameras get wet and you can't see through them, or they're covered in snow. So they don't want you to rely on the backup camera. They want to make sure that you know how to do it. And you're also sometimes doing it in like the dark and stuff. So there's like, yeah.
Makes complete sense. So, oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm fascinated about this. Like,
It's
I'm
okay.
able to-
I
you do so
totally
many
understand.
things, but I'm just focusing on this thing because to me, it's fascinating. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so you finish this thing, and then you had to go to work in Liverpool.
Yeah. So again,
How was that for you though? When they're like, oh yeah, Chelsea are going to Liverpool, blah
Yeah,
blah.
when you get hired, again, same thing. You can request certain areas, but like they're gonna most likely send you where they need you most if they can't fill that request. Like when I got hired, they had enough paramedics in the central region in Halifax, so they didn't need people there. They needed people in the rural communities. So I got hired for Shelburne, which is 40 minutes past Liverpool, but I lived in Liverpool because that's where I just ended up finding a place to stay. So I would, it definitely going from Halifax, which has a population of like 500,000 people almost in the HRM, to Liverpool, which has like, I think like just under 3,000 people, maybe like 2,700 people roughly. Yeah, it was definitely not my fave. Nothing
Did they have
against
a
Liverpool.
Sobeys?
They had a Sobeys and a Superstore, a McDonald's,
okay.
a Dollarama,
Okay.
and they had a couple gas stations. There was a really awesome German restaurant that I would go for brunch all the time because it was just so good.
What would you have when you get there?
They had like a a skillet breakfast that I would always get. They had great food, and there was a cute little bakery that I would go get like this cranberry bread from. So there was little gems to be found, but I'm just not a small town person. I'm
How long
a city
did you
girl.
have to stay there for?
I was there for 11 months, almost a year. It was just under a
And
year.
then how were the calls every day?
Yeah.
Even in
Oh, yeah.
such a
There's
small
calls
town?
every day, no matter where you are. Like it's very like
Wow.
you're not gonna get a day where you do nothing all day. Like
Yeah, I keep thinking it's a small town. I mean, there's not much going on.
you're covering
there.
a larger area, though, right? Like in Halifax, you've got multiple trucks here covering because it's such a densely populated area. Versus down there, it's not as populated, so they have like less trucks, but you're covering a larger area. So sometimes we'd get a call and it would take us like anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes just to get to the call because it was like so far out in like the backwoods area. Like there's places in Nova Scotia I never knew existed. And then I'd be like, okay, it looks like this is a place.
Wait, so I mean, I'm guessing you guys have like a GPS thing in there.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
sponge into.
tells us
Okay, cool.
where to go. A map.
So when did you know you were going to move back to Halifax?
I always knew, like, I knew that going down there that I was gonna try to transfer back up. You can transfer after, you can request, you can put in a request after 6 months. I would have been down there in April, so I could have technically put a request in October, but I was renting a room from another paramedic in his house, and I was paying $450 for rent, and compared to coming back to the city. And I was also thinking, I was like, okay, it's October, it's fall. I was like, if I try to transfer now and go back up to the city, I'm going to be paying double, if not triple, in rent. And it's winter time. So it's not like people in Halifax stay in the winter, right? Like nobody's out doing stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just kind of stay here through the winter. And I'll request for a transfer as soon as I can, first of the year. And that way I'll be back for like spring and summer. So I put in my transfer in January of last year, 2020. It got approved in February. I moved back up for March 1st. And then COVID happened.
Wow, that's what I was going to say.
I was like, I just spent 11 months in isolation. Now you're telling me I got to do it again? Like...
But like, yeah, and then you moved, and then that happened. But like, what did you change for as a paramedic though? Like nothing, I'm guessing.
What was that? Sorry.
Work wise, what did the pandemic change for you?
Right at the beginning, like we were getting emails like every day with like new policies and new protocols, and because like going into somebody's house beforehand, like all you had to make sure, unless you had some reason to believe they had some kind of spreadable disease or whatever, all you would wear is like your gloves. That's it. So now, when we go into people's houses, initially, like we would have to wear the masks. And then eventually it changed, so we would have to wear like face shields, and then we had to wear these like surgical gowns almost. And then afterwards, once kind of things got better, things died down, it went back down to just the masks. Then things were like, they were like, oh, well, like since it's like kind of spread through droplets, like if someone coughs and it gets in your eye, like you get it that way. So then it went to like masks and shields, and then it was constantly changing. And right now, because we're in another wave, it's like everything, full everything, make sure everything's on. Both paramedics have to be wearing everything. So things were constantly changing. We had to, like, our questioning when we first got to someone's house, like we couldn't walk into the house unless we asked them all the questions of like, do you have a new or worsening cough? Do you have a runny nose? Do you have a sore throat? Have you been traveling? Blah, blah, blah. And then like when the bubble opened up, we no longer had to ask like, have you been outside of Nova Scotia? It went to like, have you been outside of the bubble? And then again, we went back to like, okay, have you been outside of Nova Scotia? And now it's like, all right, have you been, and we'd also have to ask them, have you been to any of the exposure sites and stuff? So it's constantly been changing for us all the time. Like you always have to keep an eye on your emails to watch out for any new policies.
Damn. How are you handling it all though? And like, something before you even did the paramedic thing, something that you did a lot on your Instagram was like you had this caption, so we're like talking about mental health and stuff. And I'm wondering, like, doing what you're doing and some of the things, I can't even imagine what you've seen. Like, how do you handle that? How do you take care of yourself, like physically and mentally?
Yeah, physically, I just try to make sure that I don't always eat healthy, but I try to keep mindful of what I'm eating, because, sometimes at work, like, it can be hard if you're working all the time, or like it's a really busy day and you're not getting much of a break, and maybe you didn't pack a good lunch that day, so you stop at the gas station and you grab a bag of chips or something like that. I try to make sure that, like, all right, if I grab a bag of chips, like, make sure you grab a banana too or something like that, because the gas stations luckily have some healthy snacks as well. So try to keep eye on that, and then on my days off, I try to make sure that I like get enough rest, and go for, if I can't work out, like go for a walk, or over the winter time when we did have things open, I was learning how to snowboard, so that was keeping me fit and stuff. And then mentally wise, like I've been pretty lucky with the job that like a lot of it I can just leave at work. You kind of have to, like, I kind of just dissociate myself from the situation and say, like, obviously I feel very bad for whoever it is going through whatever they are, but at the end of the day, when I leave, I'm like, not my family, that's a stranger, has nothing to do with my personal life, that is just a part of the job, that is just like any other job, filing somebody's taxes, or like stocking the shelf. Like that's all it is for me. However, of course, you're going to get calls that hit you a little bit harder. And we have like a really great peer support team, and we have a phone number we can call. You can talk to another paramedic, and you can kind of talk about what happened or why something's upsetting you. And then like I talk to my mom all the time, not about specifics because of confidentiality, but I'll just say, I had a really hard day today or something like that, and we'll just like chit chat, and she always makes me feel better. But I think there's only been like maybe like one time that a call like really upset me, and it was just because the person looked very similar to a family member of mine, and they actually looked like my brothers. So like that one like really got to me, and I ended up, taking the next day off and talking to the peer support team, and just, just kind of working that out that way. But COVID kind of has put something totally different on it. The other day I had like a little bit of a breakdown just because I was like, got upset. I'm like, I'm not going to see my family for a while, even if Nova Scotia's cases go down, and even if like things end up working out a little bit better. Like, unfortunately, like over the entire first wave of literally since last year when it first started, I'd never had a confirmed positive patient. All of my patients were suspected, like maybe, given what they told us, they might have it. We don't know. But I never once got a call from Nova Scotia Public Health saying, hey, you were around a positive. However, like now with the second wave, I have been around positive patients. Even though I am vaccinated, there's still so many variables. I could still carry it asymptomatically. I've never had any issues with like my protective gear. I wear all my protective gear on every call, and so like I've never had a breach. I've never had a reason to worry that I could have been exposed, but I'm not willing to risk that because my family members are. My dad just got his first vaccine, and my mom is getting hers, but only having one dose is not enough. And then my brother has small kids. He has a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old, and so like they're not giving vaccines to the kids yet.
Right.
So like looking forward into the future, I'm like, I have no clue when I'm gonna see anybody.
So it's just Zoom and phone calls with family.
Yeah, right now. But
how difficult is that for you though?
It's difficult because like my family is like literally the most important thing to me.
That's something you mentioned.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I love my family so much. We're all so close. And I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm saying all this, but like I'm very privileged. Like my family all lives in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Like they don't live in like Ontario or BC where I actually cannot go visit them. So I was like blessed last year and over the last year when we did have lower numbers that I could see them. Like last year when the bubble was open, I got to go to Newfoundland and see my real dad and my stepmom and my sister. So like I don't want to take any of that for granted, but it's hard no matter what. Like everyone's situations are hard, and some people's are like technically worse than others, but it's all relative. So
Okay, so like just thinking of all these steps you have to jump through to become a paramedic, and then the actual job itself, like, is there an average shelf life for someone as a paramedic? Like,
not necessarily, because there's lots of paramedics that I have met through work and that I've worked side by side with as partners who have been doing this job for 15 years, 20 years.
Wow.
Like they're literally retiring from this job. That's not necessarily super common. It is and it isn't. It kind of depends. There's lots of options. You can like go into, I'm a primary care paramedic, so you can become an advanced care paramedic, and they do more procedure, like they can intubate somebody in the field, they can give narcotics like morphine and fentanyl for pain management. Like I can't do that. And then you can go into flight medicine, you can become a supervisor.
Flight medicine?
Yeah, so that's like the helicopter that picks people up.
Oh.
Yeah, so because medicine on the ground is completely different once you're in the air because of the altitude and the oxygen changes. And so there's a huge difference in that. So you can do that. So there's lots of options for people to have a full career. Or you could stay as a primary care paramedic, and if you're happy with that, you could do that your whole career. So there are people who do stay in it. And then there's people who do this and do something else. There's some people who are firefighters who.
How would anyone do that? Like, how would you? Because
you can do like as a casual paramedic, you can just say like I'm only available like for these, like for 4 shifts a month or something like that. And so they're full-time firefighters, but they still keep their license and work on the trucks every so often, enough to maintain employment and maintain a license. So some people do that, or some people, do it for a few years and then do something else.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had a lot of things I wanted to talk to you about, and now I'm figuring out that I need to have you to come back. But I'm not going to let you go this time without talking about your TikTok, because that's like it's so interesting to me, because like you have all this part where okay, how to keep people alive, but then you have this part where you do the craziest things. The one that I liked was the gay one. Do you know the
There's
one?
a lot of gay ones on there.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much all of my content is about being gay.
Okay, so it's like like you're a 13-year-old girl, and you're like, someone say you're gay, like no.
You're like,
and
no, I'm not gay, and then you
these,
see all the cartoon characters.
all the cartoon characters, Impossible, and all of them are like,
and you're like, never mind, I am gay.
So, why did you decide to start a TikTok, and like how much, I guess planning goes into making your videos?
So I started TikTok actually back when I was in the South Shore, and like say I didn't have enough days off in a row to like come up to the city and see my friends or go visit my family. Like maybe I just had like one evening in between shifts, and this was back when like TikTok was I think like it used to be Musical.ly, and then it switched over to like TikTok, and I was seeing a little bit more of it here and there, and I was like, okay, like I'll check it out, and so I got it. And if anyone actually took the time to scroll through the fucking thousands of videos that I have on there and go back to the very beginning, the videos I did in the beginning were so bad. Like quality was bad, transition was bad, everything was just like, ugh. And then like I had an older phone back then, so the quality of the camera wasn't that good. Anyways, so like but yeah, I just like started doing them on my days off when I was bored and I had nothing else to do down there. Maybe it wasn't a nice day, I couldn't like go hike or something, and so I'd started doing them down there, and it was all trial and error, and I just kind of like every so often one video would kind of like blow up a little bit. And when I say blow up, I'm not talking like, there's some people whose videos blow up and they get like millions of views. Like my video would like blow up and get like 20,000 views, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is so sweet, like I'm going viral or something like that. And I would and you would get these spurts of like, I went from like just like a couple 100 followers to like a couple thousand. Then all of a sudden I was sitting at like 10,000. And then it took a lot of work, seemed like forever. And then all of a sudden I was at 20,000. And all of a sudden I was at 50. And then I was like stagnant at like between 50 and 70. And I felt like it took forever. And then finally I got to like 100K. And now I think I'm up to 220K at the moment. Nice. But it took like, I think this September will be 2 years that I've been on TikTok. So it took like, it's taken 1.5 years, almost 2 years to get to the point I'm at right now. So,
wow.
So I just continued with it, and it's fun. Like I enjoy doing it. It makes me laugh, and I can be like on Instagram, I'm definitely more of like in the photos, like on my stories. I don't care. I'll post whatever on my stories. But in my photos, it's a lot of ad placement, like a lot of working with brands, a lot of like edited photos, a lot of the like picture perfect. And in my stories, I try to still remain authentic and be like, hey guys, like here's me with no makeup on and blah, blah, blah. And here's me talking about mental health, or here's me ranting about whatever. But TikTok, I feel like, is like my more goofy, like just do the things that I super enjoy. So yeah. And with how long it takes to do a video, it 100% depends on the video. Some videos I can just like make in 30 seconds to a minute. Some videos, if I'm like doing it over time, or I'm like practicing something, or I'm like doing my makeup, could take a couple hours or a couple days.
Wow. Well, Chelsea Rose, okay. I have to let you go, but I need to ask one more question now. Um, with all these things you do, how when you have time for
Mhm.
yourself
Mhm.
and you're not making TikTok videos, how do you relax?
So like I said, over the winter, I was learning to snowboard, and
Mm.
then I've been trying to learn to like longboard, skateboard. I like to now that the sun is starting to come out and it's warmer. I got my motorcycle back out, and like honestly, just going for a long drive with some music playing on my motorcycle is so relaxing for me. Or I'll like stay home and binge watch some TV. Yeah, those are like
What shows are you
predominantly.
watching? Oh my god, that was supposed to be the last one. But really, what shows are you watching?
Well, right now I feel like I've watched everything. I feel like I don't have a show to watch. There is this show on Disney Plus that I have been like I started it and I forgot that I had started it, and so now I'm watching it again. Let me just quickly check and I'll be able to tell you. It's a really cool show, and it's like these people have this weird incident that happens where they get like a flash forward, and they see a little piece of their future. That's actually what the show is called, Flash Forward.
That's the show. Yeah, Flash
Yeah,
Forward. Yeah, I've
Flash
seen it.
Forward. So that's what I'm watching
When he
right
started, they
now.
all passed out or something, right?
Yeah, the first episode they all pass out and they randomly get like a
Yeah,
little vision of their future, like just a couple minutes into their future
yeah,
of in 6 months time, and
yeah.
so they're trying to like figure out like why did this happen, what does this mean, blah blah blah, and so that's what I'm watching right now.
Oh,
I
Flash Forward is
was
nice. Okay,
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
good,
okay.
and I was watching The Circle on Netflix. I find that one
Yeah, everyone is watching
interesting.
that one. I don't.
Yeah, I like reality TV here and there. I don't like Real
Do
Housewives
you
or
know
anything
what
like
you should
that.
watch on Netflix? Is called, I can't remember the name, but it's about these Asians.
Hmm.
I'll find the title and send it to you. But it's
Oh,
about
oh,
these really, really rich Asians in
I have
Hollywood.
seen some of that. I haven't seen it all yet, but I saw
I
like the
like
first
it.
two episodes.
I like that
Yeah,
one. I like
I
that one.
like
I'm
that.
not
I
even
like
gonna
those
lie.
ones as well. Yeah, and then I watch like Big Brother Canada and Survivor and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of watch everything: comedy shows, reality shows, drama shows.
Oh man, Chelsea, you know what? Like I said, seriously, I'm gonna reach out and have you come back because then we need to talk about how when we first talking you, I think you were like at 3,000 people on Instagram, but now you're
Hmm.
like at almost 11 or something
Yeah,
thousand.
yeah.
I need to know how you bridge that gap because like I just need to get to 1,600. That's it. That's my goal. When I get down, like, yes, I've arrived. I'm all good. I'm done with Instagram. I've won.
Yeah.
Thank you
Definitely. I'll
so
definitely come
much for
back.
giving me your time.
You're
And also
welcome.
thank you for, actually following your passion and doing what you want to do and showing that, you know what, man, you could like go ahead get the degree, but if it's not giving you what you want, you can go ahead and do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing everyone always thinks that your life has to follow like a timeline. And like I don't know where we came up with in our mind like these timelines of like finish high school, go to school, get an education, find someone, get married, have kids, and then you're like sitting around and you're looking at your friends and you're looking at your peers and you're like, I'm not on their timeline, like something's wrong, blah blah blah, like
Mm.
something's wrong with me. I'm like, there is no timeline. Like nobody in life has this perfect down pat amazing life timeline, whatever. You are literally on your own timeline.
Mm.
So
Mm.
my one of my favorite sayings is comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna steal that. I like that. I like that because it's true. Once, like if you start comparing, you'll never be satisfied.
Exactly. Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of time. I'll type that down. All right,
Thief of
Chelsea.
joy.
Thank you
Thief of
so
joy.
much for say it again. Say it again.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
The thief of joy. Yeah.
Hmm.
I like that. Okay. Yeah, I literally typed it down. Seriously, thank you for coming to the sanctuary and thank you for giving me so much of your time.
You're
I'll reach
welcome.
out to have you come back because there's so much to talk about. I just made this one about one section of your life and you have so many layers.
Yes. So many. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. You too.